Welcome to the Tim Booker channel. Wisdom is worth sharing. Wishing you an enjoyable listening experience. Today, I want to talk to you about a book, Edison, written by the American biographer Edmund Morris. This is a 650-plus page biography with over 510,000 words. Its central character, who may be both familiar and unfamiliar, is Thomas Edison. It was Edison who invented the incandescent light bulb, changing the way humanity lives and its daily routines. We can say that it not only freed us from the entanglement of darkness but also genuinely illuminated the night. Of course, the incandescent light bulb was not Edison's only technological invention. He was the father of the motion picture and a pioneer in various fields, including optics, acoustics, electromagnetism, and botany. Edison himself held over 1,000 patents for his inventions. But beyond this extensive list, our knowledge of Edison is clouded by a mix of truth and fiction. Did he really use a mirror's reflection to perform surgery on his mother? Was he truly rendered deaf by a train conductor? Did he persecute another inventor, Tesla? The answers to these questions have troubled many in America. Furthermore, Edison's famous quote, "Genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration," has also led many astray. We often imagine Edison toiling away in a dimly lit laboratory, working tirelessly through thousands of attempts to finally create the incandescent light bulb. Our perception of the great inventor aligns with this image. However, this book dispels many misconceptions about Edison. It reveals that Edison was indeed a highly energetic and inventive individual, but he was not a solitary knight or an oblivious scholar. As early as 1876, Edison established the first industrial laboratory in the United States. Milestone inventions like the phonograph and the incandescent light bulb were the result of collaborative efforts with a team of over 70 people. He also possessed a keen business sense, founding over 200 companies, including the famous General Electric. By the time he was in his 40s, Edison had become a multimillionaire, leading dozens of industrial enterprises with tens of thousands of employees. He can be considered a 19th-century unicorn entrepreneur, akin to the Bill Gates or Elon Musk of his era. Edison's legend also embodies the notion that times create heroes. At the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries, the United States was experiencing a surge in transportation and urbanization. Edison, a pragmatic inventor, focused on meeting the real societal needs of the time. His inventions in communication, lighting, acoustics, and more were responses to the contemporary realities, and this is why they have left a lasting mark in history. On the contrary, some of Edison's own pet projects, such as milling and special rubber, not only failed to gain traction but also resulted in significant financial losses. Listening to Edison's story, you will not only be inspired by his spirit of exploration and unwavering passion but also gain a better understanding of the relationship between demand and innovation, which has relevance in our daily work. The author of this book, Edmund Morris, is a celebrated biographer who wrote an early biography of President Theodore Roosevelt, earning him the Pulitzer Prize in 1980. His other notable work, Dutch, a memoir of Ronald Reagan, used literary techniques and novelistic approaches, garnering significant attention upon publication. Edison is Morris's final major biography, the result of 7 years of meticulous research into Edison's manuscripts and personal archives, leading to the publication of the English edition in 2019. Morris employs a narrative technique that gradually shifts our focus from the accomplished Edison of his later years, taking us back to the restless young man in a mid-19th century small town. The content is detailed, vivid, and paints a much more comprehensive picture of Edison than the exaggerated stories we often hear. Next, I will break down the book's main content into 3 parts. First, we will explore why Edison embarked on the path of an inventor during his youth and how he earned his first fortune. In the second part, we'll revisit how Edison built his kingdom of inventions and discuss his triumphs and setbacks. In the third part, I will summarize the real Thomas Edison and the regrets in his life. When it comes to Edison's early experiences, you may have heard a mix of true and false stories. The most widespread tales include Edison saving his mother and conducting experiments on a train, leading to deafness due to a conductor's actions. These stories suggest a link between Edison's later success and the trials he faced in his youth. Unfortunately, these legends are just that, legends. At least when Edison was born in Ohio in 1847, his family had a fairly comfortable life. His father, Old Edison, was a Canadian-born businessman who operated a lumber processing factory in town, while his mother, Nancy, was the daughter of a minister, well educated. When Edison was 7 years old, the family moved to Michigan near the border. His father's business prospered, accumulating assets of $6,000, equivalent to several $1 million today, making them a middle-class family. As for the story of Edison saving his mother, it's purely a later embellishment, and Edison never acknowledged it. However, at the age of 10, Edison did experience a family setback. In 1857, the United States faced a financial crisis, and old Edison's business suffered, leading to a loss of most of their savings. Still, they retained their home, farm, and a collection of books, which left them in better conditions than most impoverished families. Edison, being the youngest in the family, was quite favored. Besides assisting on the farm and learning about business from his father, he had few constraints placed upon him. Edison attended school for only a few months, not due to an inability to pay tuition but because of his lack of concentration and struggle with the school environment. Nancy decided to take matters into her own hands, providing Edison with an education. She guided him through encyclopedias and introduced him to books like The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. She even allowed him to conduct chemical experiments in the basement. This one-on-one education continued for 4 years and played a significant role in shaping Edison's unique knowledge base. While Edison showed little interest in humanities, he became engrossed in natural encyclopedias at the age of 9. He developed a curiosity for mechanics, chemistry, and electromagnetism, often experimenting with cases from his readings. This hands-on approach persisted throughout his life. At the age of 12, Edison faced a significant setback when he contracted scarlet fever, which led to severe middle ear infections. Unfortunately, his left ear became deaf, and his right ear lost half of its hearing. It's worth noting that at this time, Edison had not yet worked on the railways or been struck deaf by a conductor, as the widely circulated story suggests. It was a narrative created by his admirers. Edison remained open-minded about his condition and even said, "Deafness and being very hard of hearing did me a world of good. For I was very absent-minded, and not paying attention to what people said." However, in his later years, he helped propagate the story of the conductor striking him deaf because such anecdotes added to his personal legend. In 1860, at the age of 13, Edison embarked on a career working on the railways. He commuted daily between his hometown and the major city of Detroit, selling newspapers and candy. While this may sound modest, it had a hidden opportunity. The 1860s marked the golden era of railroad development in the United States, and the railway Edison served was a vital transportation link in the Midwest. With significant passenger traffic, working as a vendor on this railway line could earn him $50 per week with a 50% profit margin, stable and profitable. What's more, in 1861, the United States plunged into the Civil War, and the public was eager for the latest news. Newspapers were in high demand, and Edison recognized this business opportunity. He started his own newspaper, then became a distributor for a prominent newspaper called the Free Press. He would copy the headlines from the newspaper and use telegrams to send them to station managers along the return route, asking them to advertise the paper. By the time Edison, with the freshly printed copies of the Free Press, returned for his journey home, the platform was already crowded with people eager to learn the latest war news. The papers would sell out quickly, and Edison turned a profit. If he continued this endeavor for several more years, he might have become a newspaper magnate in Detroit. However, by this time, Edison's interest in inventing and experimenting with small innovations had taken root. He spent the money he earned on chemical agents and conducted clandestine experiments on the train. He soon found himself out of a job in 1862. Fortunately, he had previously saved the son of a station master on the railway tracks, and the station master was also a telegraph operator. In gratitude, the station master began teaching Edison how to use a telegraph machine. Within half a year, Edison became proficient in telegraphy. He began wandering around and looking for work as a traveling telegraph operator. This profession, however, was essential to the booming American railway development in the 19th century. At the time, the railway telegraphy was monopolized by a company called Western Union, which eventually evolved into Western Union Money Transfers. Working as a telegraph operator for Western Union was a highly skilled and well-paying job, with stability. Yet, Edison had no intentions of becoming a career telegrapher. He began to amass a modest amount of money and invested it in various endeavors. He was known to purchase bundles of used batteries, wire, and a variety of technical books. He continued to develop inventions related to telegraphy, all while keeping an eye on emerging trends in technology. From his early 20s, Edison forced himself to read 5 scientific papers each day and subscribe to 27 scientific journals. He claimed to have read 18 kilograms of books every month. Edison's commitment to both knowledge and diligence set the foundation for his future success. By the time he turned 21 in 1868, Edison's amateur inventing had yet to yield significant results. However, an unexpected opportunity awaited him in his regular job. After the Civil War ended, telegraphy became more widespread in the United States, becoming essential not only for railway communication but also for the news and finance industries. Telegraph operators faced the challenging task of transmitting speeches by the president, which were often thousands of words long, to major newspapers within just a few hours. This required exceptional skills. Edison happened to be the fastest message receiver at Western Union, earning him significant recognition and advancement within the company. Not only did he get promotions and pay raises, but he was also transferred to Boston, a major city on the East Coast. It was in Boston where Edison developed his first practical invention, a telegraph machine capable of both sending and receiving messages simultaneously, known as the double transmitter. With this new invention, he gained prominence, and in October 1869, he secured enough startup capital to establish his own company. The following year, a financial company paid Edison $7,400 to develop a stock ticker, marking his company's first income. By then, at the young age of 23, Edison had already embarked on his journey as a professional inventor. He often emphasized the phrase, "I only invent things people want to buy." The depth of meaning in this statement can be found in his experiences in the preceding 20 years. The railways and telegraphy significantly transformed Edison's life, enabling him to leave his rural Michigan upbringing and establish himself in New York. These two technologies also closely aligned with the needs of most people's daily lives and followed the developmental trends of the American economy and society. Edison was determined to continue inventing, but the focus on practicality did not mean he spent all his time studying markets. Most of his energy went into developing new products and keeping an eye on technological trends. Since his early 20s, Edison had forced himself to read 5 scientific papers each day and subscribe to 27 scientific journals. It was said that he read 18 kilograms of books every month. Edison's combined commitment to knowledge and hard work paved the way for his future endeavors. To summarize, this is the account of Edison's path toward becoming an inventor. From his youth to establishing himself in New York, most of Edison's inventions were related to the telegraph. During that time, the patent protection period in the United States was 17 years. During these 17 years, any company that wanted to purchase or use Edison's patents had to pay him several $1,000s annually. This amounted to a significant income for him. Edison even developed telegraph devices for multiple competing companies because everyone wanted his new inventions. However, as his business expanded, some of Edison's inherent flaws became more evident. For instance, he lacked financial acumen, and New York bankers often manipulated contracts when dealing with him, converting payment methods from cash to high-risk stocks without his awareness, resulting in significant losses. Furthermore, Edison's management skills left much to be desired. He established his team but continued to adhere to the principle of doing everything himself. He spent over 10 hours a day in the laboratory, followed by a few minutes making decisions on the company's business plans, often based on gut feeling, which was bound to cause problems. Edison's late-life mistakes had early signs. Nevertheless, when it came to technological inventions, he was still the genius with a keen eye. In 1876, he had a new idea called the Invention Factory. This concept involved gathering research and engineering personnel into small teams focused on independent projects in various fields like communication, optics, and acoustics. As soon as a project took shape, the engineering team would begin producing samples and pushing them into the market. This model was the precursor to later industrial laboratories, serving as incubators for various creative ideas. Edison came up with this idea mainly because of his extensive interests and the realization that he was too busy to manage everything. At that time, he had just sold a patent for a 4-channel telegraph machine to a financial tycoon, earning $30,000. With this money, he bought land in Menlo Park, New Jersey, and constructed 2 rows of houses that resembled high school dormitories. These would serve as the headquarters for his invention factory. Today, this place is known as Edison Town. The first invention from Menlo Park Laboratory was the phonograph, introduced in 1877. You might wonder how Edison could work on a phonograph when he had hearing impairments. It's because sound travels to the auditory nerves through two modes, air conduction and bone conduction. Although Edison's left ear was deaf due to issues with the middle ear, his auditory nerves remained functional. He devised a method to hear sounds by clamping the phonograph's needle with his teeth, allowing vibrations to transmit through his skull. This method formed the basis of the phonograph's design. Edison's interest in inventing was not only practical but also rooted in his ability to learn and draw inspiration from others' ideas. It's crucial to note that he respected the intellectual property of registered patents and did not engage in plagiarism. He borrowed ideas and experimented with them if the concepts were not mature or had not resulted in stable products. The invention of the incandescent light bulb is a prime example. In the early 1840s, European inventors had developed a rudimentary form of the light bulb, but the quality of the filaments was insufficient, and creating a vacuum inside the bulb was challenging, preventing it from being a commercial success. Starting in 1878, Edison focused on developing the incandescent light bulb, aiming to overcome these two main challenges. Over 14 months, he and his team worked tirelessly, averaging 17 hours per day in the laboratory. He experimented with over 1,400 different metals and plants to find the right material for the filament. Ultimately, Japanese bamboo proved to be the ideal choice. Edison also employed the latest technology, including a vacuum pump imported from Germany, to solve the vacuum issue. On December 31, 1879, Edison showcased 58 incandescent light bulbs installed around the Menlo Park Laboratory. This public demonstration created a sensation in the town, drawing thousands of visitors. The light bulb addressed the need for safe and efficient indoor lighting in buildings and transportation, and it was embraced immediately. As a result, orders from railway companies, shipping firms, and major enterprises began flooding into Menlo Park. For instance, in 1880, transportation magnate Vanderbilt's ordered 120 incandescent light bulbs for their new ship, the Columbia, which sailed from the east coast to the west coast, and all the bulbs operated continuously for 415 hours without failure. Edison's invention received tremendous acclaim, and orders kept pouring in from railway companies, shipping firms, and large enterprises. By the early 20th century, Edison's phonograph company was selling 6,000 phonographs and 900,000 records each week, with annual net profits of $7 million, equivalent to over $100 million today. In conclusion, Edison's remarkable journey as an inventor, from his work with telegraphy to the creation of the phonograph and the incandescent light bulb, showcases his practicality, capacity to learn from others, and determination to address the pressing needs of society. If Edison had been shrewd enough, he could have focused on producing more light bulbs and made money effortlessly. But Edison had bigger ambitions. He wanted to establish a complete electrical supply system for the major cities of the United States. Edison's fascination with electricity began when he was in his early 20s. He wanted to use electricity to power the light bulbs he had invented, drive trains and automobiles, and make people's lives more convenient. To achieve this goal, he needed a power supply system. Edison's solution was an improved large-scale direct current, DC, generator that he designed himself. This system had low voltage and a limited transmission distance, requiring expensive copper wires for connections. However, Edison believed this wasn't an issue because residential areas in large American cities were densely populated and ideal for deploying DC electricity. In September 1882, Edison's company unveiled the first DC power station in New York. It provided electricity for 400 lamps in 82 residences. Just 2 years later, this number surged to 1,000 lamps in 508 residences, and several dozen American cities decided to adopt Edison's power stations. However, Edison soon found himself caught in the War of the Currents, also known as the AC/DC battle. Some legends circulating on the internet describe the current war as a personal rivalry between two inventors, with Edison pitted against Tesla. However, the book's author, Morris, clarifies that this was mostly misinformation. The real battle was between two companies, Edison Electric, founded by Edison, and Westinghouse Electric, where Tesla worked. Westinghouse was producing alternating current, AC, generators, seeking to seize the market for city lighting, which was in direct conflict with Edison Electric's direct current systems. Nevertheless, the intense commercial competition led to the propagation of false narratives, alleging that Edison and Tesla had a personal feud, which is far from the truth. In reality, Edison and Tesla had a good working relationship. When Tesla first came to the United States in 1884, he began his career as an engineer in Edison's company. He even spoke highly of Edison, suggesting that Edison deserved 10 Nobel Prizes. Edison, in turn, acknowledged Tesla as a genius. Although Edison was not directly involved in the current war, his company employed aggressive marketing strategies. It's important to note that Edison himself was not responsible for these tactics. He had delegated the full management of his company to a few assistants, and his company's overzealous marketing strategies weren't under his personal control. However, Edison's involvement with his electric companies was short-lived. He was eventually ousted from the companies he had founded, a situation not unlike what often happens in today's startup battles. As previously mentioned, Edison was more of a researcher and inventor, not a skilled businessman. He established over 200 companies but didn't engage in horizontal integration, and consequently, the development of these companies varied widely. Additionally, Edison lacked an understanding of cash flow and often invested all available funds into new research projects, which disrupted company operations. This financial instability caused concern among investors. In 1889, Vanderbilt, a prominent figure in the transportation industry and an acquaintance of Edison, enlisted the help of financier J.P. Morgan to consolidate Edison's electric companies into a unified system, forming General Electric. Edison, unable to produce the required cash, ended up with only a 10% share in the new company. 3 years later, as direct current began to lose ground, Morgan and Vanderbilt decided to exit the electrical business and carefully orchestrated a merger using the shell of a company focused on alternating current technology. This new company, General Electric, is still in operation today. Edison received $5 million in cash but was forced to step down from the board of directors. Edison, the great inventor, faced the turbulent waters of the financial market, akin to a naive child, and the book, Lighting the Night, chronicles his journey in the field of professional invention and entrepreneurship. Despite being forced to leave General Electric, Edison remained a wealthy business tycoon. In 1886, he purchased new land in West Orange, New Jersey, and relocated his Menlo Park laboratory. The new laboratory initially had only 6 buildings, but it later expanded to 27, housing workshops for developing new projects, a substantial Edison phonograph and film factory, and more. In West Orange alone, there were 3,500 engineers and skilled workers working for Edison. Henry Ford, one of Edison's former employees, later became an automobile magnate and looked after Edison's business. By 1920, the number of employees Edison hired had exceeded 10,000, and his personal wealth had expanded to $10 million, equivalent to approximately $125 million today. While $10 million might seem like a significant sum, when compared to the fact that Edison received $5 million in cash when General Electric was founded in 1892, and considering all the patents and new inventions he accumulated over 2 decades, it raises questions about the growth of his wealth. This can be attributed to Edison's personality traits and preferences. Edison was a broad-minded inventor and had a strong-willed personality. When he set his mind on something, it was nearly impossible to dissuade him. After receiving the $5 million from General Electric, Edison had a sudden idea to venture into the iron mining business. He designed his own ore milling methods and machinery, believing he could succeed. However, the prices of iron ore were heavily influenced by the international market, and they experienced substantial fluctuations. Just a few years into this endeavor, Edison faced a sharp drop in iron ore prices, which led to a complete loss of his investment. In his later years, Edison remained resolute in his opposition to emerging technologies, particularly wireless radio. His unwavering focus was on refining his phonograph. This also contributed to his company's losses. When it came to his personal life, Edison's eccentricities created even more significant challenges. Since his youth, he had cultivated a habit of working at least 16 hours a day, sleeping very little and eating sparingly. While this might have been an asset for his business, it took a toll on his family. Edison was married twice during his lifetime and had 6 children, 4 of whom had strained relationships with him, some even resulting in legal disputes. By the time of Edison's death in 1931, he was the most famous American in the world and an idol for the public. However, the conflicts within his family continued until his final moments, leaving behind a sense of regret. In conclusion, the book, Lighting the Night, provides insight into Edison's journey as a prolific inventor and entrepreneur. Although more than 90 years have passed since Edison's death, some of his critical inventions, such as the incandescent light bulb, continue to impact our lives. These innovations owe much to Edison's personal genius and relentless efforts but are also inseparable from the needs created by societal development. Edison's story underscores the dialectical relationship between innovation and demand. Moreover, even geniuses like Edison have made management mistakes while running companies, offering valuable lessons for us to learn from. Interestingly, Edison didn't favor his famous quote, "Genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration." He preferred to say that creativity isn't innate, it comes from external stimuli, and diligent individuals merely draw it out from their environment. This was not only a form of humility but also the best summary of his inventive career. This concludes the core content of the book. Congratulations on completing another book, and thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel for audiobooks, like and share with your family and friends. Wisdom deserves to be shared for a brighter future. Thank you, and goodbye.